Hi everyone, it's the end of the year and that means it's time for my top 10 favorite books of the year. This is hard to do, but I did read about 62 books this year, which is pretty good. I'm pretty happy about that. I think I put my goal at like 20 or 30 books or something. I don't know. If I just get some books done, I'm happy. But I'm pretty happy with that amount. But so I'm picking out of those books that I read for my top 10 for this year. So not necessarily my top 10 favorite series of everything that I've read, but just for this year. So I'm narrowing it down, and I did read a lot of good books. I mainly just read fantasy books. No surprise there. But I did read a lot of good ones this year, so it makes me a little nervous for next year because I hope it's just as good. But starting off, and since this was the first book I read of this year, I'm going with Tress. It's definitely one of my favorites, and it was the first book I read this year. It's pretty much I think it came out January 1st. So this was a great one to start with, and it was a great one to start the year with. I hope I can start next year, well, tomorrow, just as positive. So this is such a fun read. This was part of the Sanderson Secret Projects. It was the first released one. It's so good. It's just like that comfort fantasy read, and it's just, you're in this new world. Great characters. It's so unique, and you have more of kind of this ship-faring type feel to it. A classic kind of enchantment story going on. It was so good. And then if you are familiar with the Cosmere, you do have Hoyd in this book, which he narrates it, and he is hilarious. It was delightful. So I definitely recommend this one. It was so much fun. And whether you've read a lot of the other Sanderson books or not, you can still enjoy this one. It was really good. So I definitely recommend it. So much fun. Great start to the year. And so if you haven't read it yet, I recommend starting out the year with this one, just like I started out this year with it. So definitely one of my top favorites of this year, top 10. So going on with, I'm not giving any order to these books because they're all 5-star for me. So, and it's hard to rank them that way. So I'm just going through the list. Going on next. I'm doing all the ones I have the physical copies of, because a lot of these I read on ebook, and some of them I got the physical copies of, some of them I haven't yet, but I will, so don't worry. This was a reread for me, but I did read BioShock Rapture again this year, and so I had to put it on there because I just love the BioShock world so much. It's so good. This is kind of more of like a fan-based type novel, and if you're a fan of the video game, you'll like this book because it follows it. It's more of the prequel to the video game, because the end of this book starts when BioShock begins, and so I loved it. I love having the additional backstory, and it starts to get really creepy towards like the end and everything, because you get people going crazy and everyone's killing each other and they're all going mad, and it's great. I love it. So this was a reread for me, and I enjoyed it again, so I had to put it up there because it's just one of those kind of favorites for me. So if you're a fan of the video games and you want to check it out. It's really good. And there's a lot of good themes going on in it too. Kind of what happens to society when pretty much all morals are gone, and it just goes downhill. So really good. So much fun. I'll probably reread that one again. I don't know if I will this year, but we'll see. I never know where my reading takes me. Another one, Traitor. This, I was so excited. I got the arc of this book, and I literally screamed because I was so happy. This series, I love it. This is book 3 of the Covenant of Steel series. It's a trilogy. The first one is Pariah, and then you have the Martyr, and then you have the Traitor. And these covers are great. I love them. But this is such a great series, and I thought it wrapped up really nicely. It kind of ends a little anticlimactic kind of feel to it, but I felt like it was good. I felt like the ending was fitting, and the battle scenes in this trilogy are amazing. They are written so well and so unique. Each one is completely different. I loved it. It was great. And the point of view of it is told from Alwyn Scribe, who is pretty much good at everything. He's great. And he's at the center of everything. So you always are knowing what's going on. because he is there in the thick of it all. And he kind of tells the point of view almost as from his future self. And so he kind of is looking back on some of this and narrating it that way. And I enjoy that kind of point of view. Another book that does that is going to be Justice of Kings, which is also on this list, but I'm going with book 2, Tyranny of Faith. That one was a good one too. So I'll put this one down to talk about that one. So this would be going into book 4. I'm going to do Tyranny of Faith, which I recently just finished that book. And so right now I'm on to book 3, but Justice of Kings was good. But I think I only gave it maybe 4.5 stars. There was just something about it that I didn't really connect to quite as much. But the second book, oh my goodness, it was great. I loved it. So if you're kind of unsure with Justice of Kings, the first one, keep going because the second one's really good. You get some more of kind of, so there's, the Justice kind of has some abilities. And one of them is kind of more of this necromancy type ability. Well, they really dive into that in the second book, and it's very interesting because you're getting more of this kind of this journey into like this other realm of like this afterlife realm. You have a lot of otherworldly forces coming into play. It's great. So I was definitely more interested in book 2, and I read that one a lot quicker than I did book 1. So that one is definitely on the list too, because that was good. And I'm over halfway with book 3. So I'm almost ready to give a review on the series as a whole. I'm still enjoying book 3, but I still think book 2 is probably my favorite right now, but we'll see because book 3 is picking up right now. So we'll see because there's a lot going on. So I don't want to speak too soon, but it was really good. Going next, I will talk about The Hexologist. This was a great book too. So this is the same author that wrote Senlin the Sen series, which is really unique. It's a very unique series. Not a lot of people, probably some people love it. Some people don't really care for it. The main kind of part that most people aren't probably going to like is probably the ending. The last book kind of just didn't do as great. I would agree with that, even though I did really enjoy the series. The last book, I think it's book 4. It was rough, especially the ending. There was just something that didn't sit right. It just almost like too much was going on. It didn't fit the rest of the series. But The Hexologist, I enjoy that. I've enjoyed it more than I enjoyed Senlin the Sens, which I really did like because it's such a unique story. And The Hexologist is unique too. That one, it's kind of following this married couple who are trying to solve this mystery going on regarding the king's family. And so it's kind of more of this mystery thing, but you also have some magical elements to it. But the strongest point that this author has with even Senlin says is his character writing. It is great. His characters are flawed, but they're also very human, and I enjoy that. His character writing is amazing, and you definitely can picture the characters in all of his books, and this is the same thing with The Hexologist, as I loved the main couple. You have this extrovert and this introvert, and they're hilarious. I really enjoyed that, and they definitely have their weak points and their strengths, and the author does really well with that. So that was a fun book, and that came out this year. There probably will be more, I believe there is, but this one does end. But it also ends in a way that you can tell that there's probably going to be more, but there doesn't have to be. But it does sound like there is something bigger going on. So I'd be excited to see where this goes because I did enjoy it and I would reread it because it was fun. So far, I think, was that book 6? I don't know, or 7? I still have quite a few. I don't know. We'll see. Okay, so going into the next, whatever number I'm at now, I'm just going through them because I'm so excited. I promise there's 10 there. So going into, I got to cover a Ryan Cahill book because I read his whole series so far this year, and it was great. It was really hard to pick a favorite of his. So I actually picked 2. So he's on my list twice. But I have Of War and Ruin, which is book 3 of the main series, and then the novella, The Exile. The Exile is probably the best novella I've ever read. It is so good. I liked it better than some, like, the couple of the main books of the series. It was great. So it follows Dane and Belina, and it's great. They're a great dynamic of characters. I loved them together. They were hilarious. It's like the sibling kind of relationship. And it's Dane kind of trying to go and get revenge based off of what happened to his family. And so it has more of a darker side to it, but also you have the kind of the comedic relief of the characters, the two main characters together. It was just a great dynamic to it, and it was so much fun. And I kind of liked some more of the darker elements with that. And it's really short. I wish it was longer because it was great. I loved it. It was such a fun novella. So if you are only focusing on the main books, at least read the Exile novella because it was great. Actually, this whole series, I would not skip the novellas. A lot of times I do with books because I just want to read the main ones. But with Ryan Cahill's books, no, you got to read the novellas too. But going on to his other one, this one, I'm also picking this one as a favorite, but Of War and Ruin, this is book 3 of the main series. And this thing is ginormous of a book. I don't have it, but it was huge. It took me a long time to finish it because it is a huge book. I'm kind of a little scared to see what the physical book of it looks like because even on the Kindle, I think it was like over 1,000 some pages. I mean, it was quite big, but I enjoyed that one. It was really good. A lot happens. It follows. It's still switching a lot of point of views throughout the book, as the other ones do. But you're really getting into kind of the development of the story and seeing more of where it's going. You get some of kind of more of the magical elements with it too, but also you get some dragon fighting going on. So there's a lot of cool scenes in it. There's a lot more battles than some of the other ones. You definitely have, so something that the author does a lot with this series is the relationship building. It's really good. Sometimes it can get a little heavy-handed where it's just like, oh my goodness, I love you so much, you're my brother in this, and it just kind of can get a little overwhelming because there's a lot of sentimental feel going on. But also it's good to see the relationships building, the friendships and everything, because it is nice, because a lot of times fantasy series prefer to just have someone be isolated or they're alone, they've been betrayed all the time. Whereas with Ryan Cahill, he's doing something different where he's keeping those relationships strong. They're building, they're continuing to get stronger and they're building off of each other. So I like it, but also it can get a little heavy-handed at times. I wish sometimes the speeches would be cut just a little shorter, but it's still really good. I'm glad those relationships do exist because it does add a lot to the story, and it is something different from a lot of other fantasy books where they kind of tend to lean away from friendships. So I did enjoy that. But yes, so Ryan Cahill's on there twice, and I recommend just reading his series, this whole series. He's doing a great job with this series, and I love it. It's so good. But yeah, so going on to my next one. So I'm going to do Sons of Darkness. I do have a physical book of this one. This was a really good book. I enjoyed it. It's very unique. And I'm kind of pairing this probably together with Grace of Kings, which is also on my list. The only reason being is because they're written a little similar in the writing style of the narration, where you kind of get this omnipresent kind of view of the story and what's going on. And also, where the point of view switch quite frequently in both of them, the beginning of both of these books can be confusing. And it can almost, you probably might feel like, I don't know if I want to read this. I'm confused. I'm not connecting to this. Keep going. I say that for both of these books. Keep going because it gets so good and it's so much better as the story goes on. And you do begin to connect with the characters in the story. You do learn the writing style and what's going on. And I say that with both of these. And both of these are similar in the sense that there's more of these nations that are fighting against each other. Like this one, they're rebelling against the emperor. So you get a lot of battles going on, but you do have two friends who work together and then also do not work together anymore. So you have them fighting together and fighting against each other. And it's great. This one, you have kind of the same thing, but not really with all the friendship going on, but you do have nations fighting against each other. You do have individuals who are standing out, who are making a difference, but it'll follow individual characters, but it's also following the bigger picture as well. And that's the same for both of these. I really enjoyed them both. And the second book isn't out with this one, but I will read it when it is out. And I'll probably have to reread this because there's a lot in there and I know I'll forget things, so I will reread this too. This one I am on book 3 currently, and there's 4 books out. It is a finished series. And each book is so different, and they're all really good. Book 2 ended kind of dark, but book 3 is good. I'm curious to see where the series is going to go. I hope it ends good because book 2 was not a good place. But yeah, so I recommend both of these. They're both really similar to each other, but they're very different. But they're similar in the sense of the writing style, kind of what's going on with the world, the type of conflicts that are happening, but they're very unique from each other. So don't take this to say that they're the same. I'm just saying the writing style, if you like one, you'll probably like the other and vice versa. So I enjoyed them both. I really did. But like I said, if it's rough in the beginning, keep going because it'll pay off in the end. So yes, they are on my list. So last but not least, because this is actually probably my favorite of the year, The Will of the Many. I loved this book. Oh my goodness, it was so good. Obviously, this author has the other series of the Lucanus trilogy, which I did enjoy that trilogy as well. I know some people that are kind of iffy on it or they didn't like it. You can still enjoy this book. They are completely different from each other. So whether you like the Lucanus trilogy or not, still give this one a try. It kind of has more of this Roman Empire kind of feel to it. There is a little bit of a magic involved. It's not quite as strong in this book because you get more of that academic feel. There is a dark element to this book as well, but it's definitely more of an academic setting. And I enjoy those books. I like kind of the academic setting. They're fun. But the main reason why this book is so good is because you cannot put it down. It is intense. You're always at the edge of your seat. It's one of these that you're not going to be able to put down. And it's a pretty thick book too. So I recommend starting this if you have a long weekend coming or something because you're not going to sleep. But it was really good. It's one of those where the intensity never stops and you can't stop either. But it's really good. And I wish book 2 was out. I think it's called The Strength of the Few. It comes out this coming year. And that is definitely one of my anticipated reads because I am reading that. And I'll probably reread this, so I probably won't sleep for a week. But I'm excited. This one was really good. I definitely recommend trying it. So it was a good year of reading. It really was. I'm sad that it's over, but also I hope next year it's just as good, if not better. I hope to read even more books, or at least, around the same amount. But if not, as long as I get some reading done, I'll be happy. But I hope I gave you maybe some recommendations of some books to try because I recommend all of them. They were great. And if you haven't tried them, I recommend trying them because they were really good. But I hope you have just as good of a next year with reading. But other than that, I will see you next year.